The mainstream media has been gleefully predicting the death of Christianity for a long time. When I was a freshman in college, Time magazine, then read by most Americans, had a cover which said, "Is God dead?" A theology professor of all things had decided God no longer existed and we had to proceed without him. 140 years ago, Friedrich Nietzsche asserted the same thing. So atheism and unbelief have existed for quite a while. In fact, it was addressed 3,000 years ago in the book of Psalms. Chapter 53 opens with, "The fool has said in his heart, there is no God." The Bible doesn't deal much more with atheism in its 31,000 verses. So it's not surprising that there is a current attempt to rid the world of God, which will, of course, fail. Andrew Sullivan, a secular writer, made this astute observation, quote, "Everyone has a religion. It is, in fact, impossible not to have a religion if you are a human being. It has expressed itself in every culture, in every age, including our own secularized husk of society. By religion, I mean something quite specific, a practice, not a theory, a way of life that gives meaning, a meaning that cannot really be defended without recourse to some transcendent value, undying truth, or God. Which is to say, even today's atheists are expressing a form of religion." End quote. Recently, a religion and culture writer for the New York Times, Lauren Jackson, wrote a lengthy article simply entitled, "Why Are the Alternatives to Religion Failing?" And what she means, I think at least primarily, is why are the alternatives to Christianity failing? What are the alternatives? Well, one is materialism. People are trying to satisfy their spiritual and emotional hunger by buying stuff. We have never had more stuff or the means to purchase it. But all the gadgets and baubles don't work at the deepest level of our souls. After we have everything our money can buy, there is still an emptiness. So the materialist alternative fails. Close to materialism is hedonism. From the Greek word for pleasure, it seeks to fill up our lives with synthetic joys, alcohol, drugs, immorality, travel, houses, and everything else the psalmist says would gladden the heart of man. But they fail. Living for pleasure produces everything but pleasure. Some have tried worshiping nature. I have spoken often about the environmental cult, which is a modern rendering of this ancient religion. But nature is impersonal. You may love it, but it doesn't love you back. It ends up being another failed religion. The most common and best known alternative religion is the cult of the progressive left, the modern version of the old Marxist cult. 20 years ago, the Catholic theologian Joseph Bottom wrote An Anxious Age about the progressive attempt to find a religious replacement for Christianity. You cling to the right political beliefs. The way you vote saves your soul. But it doesn't. And the left ends up perpetually angry because their religion never delivers the heaven on earth they are hoping for. In an article on this topic, our current Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, weighs in with a good observation. Americans are not abandoning religion. They are exchanging one set of beliefs for another. And that's what he means by the Marxist progressive religion. They are trying to replace religious faith with a political ideology. Lauren Jackson catalogs the alternatives, many of which she has tried herself. Quote, "In 2015, researchers at Harvard began studying where Americans were turning to express their spirituality. The answers included yoga, CrossFit, Soul Cycle, supper clubs, and meditation. Oprah tried sound baths. Gwyneth Paltrow advertised energy healing. More than a third of American women under 30 have downloaded the personal astrology app CoStar." End quote. In her piece for the Times, Ms. Jackson says she grew up in a traditional religion, but abandoned it for the modern life she and Times readers prefer. What is the result? She says people are more unhappy than they have ever been, and we are experiencing an epidemic of loneliness. Then she says those without religious affiliation in particular rank lower on key metrics of well-being. They feel less connected to others, less spiritually at peace, and they experience less awe and gratitude regularly. End quote. Ms. Jackson provides a summary for all this. Quote, many of the demographers, psychologists, sociologists, and statisticians I spoke to offered the same explanation. Americans simply haven't found a satisfying alternative to religion. End quote. Why do all these religions fail? They are false. They worship gods that do not exist, just like the ancient nations surrounding Israel and Christianity. And they fail to answer the big question, what is the meaning of life? They result in wretchedness. They leave people unhappy. Spread it around generously to the spiritually hungry but empty generation stretched out before us. Jesus was right, of course. The fields are white unto harvest.